You may see us join forces onto one screen every now and then. And this is our first Zoom session that we have hosted, so bear with us if we struggle with the technology at some point. And as Fran said, I'm Mary Walter-Brown. I probably met a lot of you. I'm the CEO of the News Revenue Hub, and Christina is our Chief Operating Officer. If you're not familiar with the Hub, we help nonprofit news organizations build successful membership programs and help them raise money from their readers. And we really have some guiding principles that we abide by. We really believe that we're all stronger together, and that it's important to really work together, but we also really believe that in order to achieve long-term sustainability, you have to build a relationship with your readers, and that does take a bit of a commitment, right? And it requires dedication and transparency about what you're trying to achieve, and it really does require a commitment to a two-way dialogue. And so we created the News Revenue Hub so that we could have tools and strategies that ensure those conversations take place. And then we tie it to revenue so that it's really hardwired into people's DNA at their news organizations. If we prove that relationship building can result in revenue, then we feel confident that news organizations will invest the time and the energy into building those relationships. And so we provide the strategy and the tech tools for our clients. And this is just a list of some of the organizations that we work with. And I know some of them may be on the line, and I know you know a lot of these folks from INN days and various conferences. We've been working with them since November, and we helped our first 5 clients raise over $1 million in 5 months, and we've raised $1.5 million in revenue and pledges since we launched in November with all of our clients. So we know what it's like to be in your shoes. We've also worked on the front lines at Voice of San Diego. I created the membership program at Voice 6 years ago, and Christina oversaw membership and events for the past 2 years. So we know what it's like to be a small staff and to have to try to achieve economy of scale. And so right now at Voice of San Diego, membership makes up 22% of their annual operating budget. And so we really believe really passionately in why these relationship building strategies are so important. As you know, Knight and Democracy Fund teamed up this year to bring you NewsMatch 2, and they've asked us to help make sure that all of the INN members maximize their opportunity for success. And so what we're going to do over the course of the next few weeks is really share the strategies and the tools that we use in the News Revenue Hub and that we've seen work for our clients. We're going to try to share those with you and help as many of you as possible replicate that success and be ready for the NewsMatch. So from now until October, we'll be covering a variety of topics, including growing your email list, cultivating major donors, cleaning up your database, and more. The topics and the schedule are detailed in the main description in the Maximize Your NewsMatch Eventbrite page. I think Christina is going to pull that up. If you haven't looked at that, that kind of gives you an overview of all the webinars that are coming up. If you have suggestions or questions about those, feel free to reach out to us. Our email address will be up on the screen at various points during this discussion as well. And just a little bit more housekeeping. We'll take some questions as we go today, so feel free to submit them through the chat function, and then we'll leave some time at the end of the session to take some more questions and to address any lingering questions or concerns that you have between now and the next webinar. So let's begin. Christina will take it from here, and we'll talk about what we're going to do today.
So we wanted to get to know a little bit about you first. So a few weeks ago, we sent out a survey. And as Mary mentioned, we're going to spend the next few weeks covering topics, about your database, major donors, engagement that were addressed in the survey. But today we're going to start with one question that was asked. What is your single biggest barrier to achieving success with NewsMatch 2? So we got 88 responses, and 39 people, that's 44% of you, said that you need staffing to plan and execute a campaign and help creating a business development strategy. So that's where we're going to begin today.
Today we're going to focus on helping you begin to craft a relationship with your readers through a series of get to know you emails. we found working now with 15 clients in the hub that we all do a great job of telling other people's story, but we really don't dedicate the time and the resources to crafting and telling our own stories. And that's what we're going to focus on today, crafting and sharing your story so you can start building a deeper relationship with your readers. So when it's time to start asking for money with NewsMatch, they're already sold on why you're such a good investment.
So fundraising is like dating. It takes time to build a relationship with somebody, and gradually, step by step, you increase the level of commitment. So we want you to think of it this way, and we're going to pull up a funny graphic, which many of you might have seen when we were in Phoenix. Just one second. All right. So this is the relationship continuum, and every one of your readers falls somewhere on the spectrum. I am guessing most of your readers fall in the random hookup section. They may happen to find an article online and occasionally visit your site. And some people go one step further and sign up to receive your emails. And at this point, you guys are casually dating. And eventually, you're going to ask them for a donation, and they will give, bringing them to the committed relationship level. So I know many of you are eager to start asking for money right away, but we recommend that you spend the next few months building the relationship instead of asking for them to jump in to the committed phase. So it looks like NewsMatch funds will be available starting in October, though many of you might opt to wait until November or December to begin your full court press for donations. In September, September 12th is our session. We're going to go over a couple different campaign strategies and plans that you can customize and tailor if you want to start in October, if you want to start in November or December, so you can work with the timelines that we provide you in those strategies. But for today, we're just going to focus on this get to know you phase. And we're going to do that through a series of emails that we call the Get to Know You series or the Welcome series that introduces readers to your mission, your values, your vision, and more.
And, I know these may seem really simple, but I can't tell you how many of us just don't do it. We don't spend the time to really reiterate to people what our mission is, what our business model is, that we're a nonprofit. We do audience surveys in every market with every new client, and we find the same thing in every market. We assume that audiences know so much more about us than they actually do. So it may feel like some of this is redundant or that your audience may know these things, but trust me, if you took the time to do a survey, you would find out that there are many misconceptions. And so really devoting the time to doing a series like this is really, really beneficial. So in addition to your editorial email products, we're going to ask you all to create an email campaign that we've called the Welcome Series. The concept is really simple. You're sending your subscribers a few pre-written emails in order to help them build an understanding of your organization. As I said, it's your mission. It emphasizes points that might be lost, like who you are, that you're a nonprofit, that you have multiple email products, that you have a really cool Facebook presence, that you do live events. So there's a lot of things that you're doing that they may not know about. So while these aren't meant to be appeals, they are designed to prime people to start looking at your work as something that has monetary value. So we always sort of begin to lay the groundwork in these get to know you emails that we're a nonprofit. And as you get to know us better, think about what this service is worth to you. So you do want to start priming the pump as you begin these conversations. And so what we're going to do is show you some examples of what our clients are doing and what we've found successful. And again, these are probably from a lot of organizations where you have friends working. So here's a couple of examples of ones that we really like.
And before we show them, I just wanted to mention we are monitoring your comments. I know you guys have asked about eligibility for NewsMatch. So we're going to talk about that at the end. So don't worry, hang tight. We're watching your questions. Okay, so let's look at some examples from a couple of our clients. So here's one from Voice of San Diego. So this is the first email. When somebody joins your email list, or you want to send a refresher out to everybody on your existing email list, this is an example of something that they're going to get. The theme of this one is just welcome to Voice of San Diego. So this is where we came from. And so visually, I want to point out a couple things. The branding and the logo placement is strong. It's at the top. We have a picture of Scott. He's a CEO, editor-in-chief. So you are beginning to establish a relationship with somebody within the organization. You are already deepening your connection. And so basically, you'll see this is pretty short. In 400 words, we're describing our origin story, that we're a nonprofit news organization, what we do, the focus of our type of reporting, and I also like how some of these are bolded to just make some of the organization and headlines stand out a little bit without cluttering the email. And then we link to different newsletters or our website or Facebook showing different ways that you can engage with our content. And then finally, at the end, what Scott says, I hope you consider making a tax deductible donation. It's subtle. The message is always going to be there, but it's not an overt appeal.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important takeaway from this is personal. And it does require editorial buy-in to make these kind of get to know you emails really resonate. It should be written by the CEO or by the editor, and it really should sound like it's coming from their voice. It should have a picture, and it should start to really connect the dots between the reader and the organization and what you're trying to achieve. Here's another good one.
Yeah. This one comes all the way from Hawaii. This is Honolulu Civil Beat, and the theme of this one is help us grow our community, engage with us. So ideally, this is the second email that somebody would receive in this series. They've already been welcomed, so we're taking it one step further and outlining ways that they can engage with you. So what I like most about this is, again, the picture. All of these should have a picture because you're, again, establishing familiarity and building connection with the staff. And then we go into the different ways that you can engage with their community. So we see member messaging is right up at the top, still very subtle. And again, it's followed up with all the different ways that they're a leader in their community, taking the dialogue one step further, ways that you can comment on their website, sign up for their morning beat, follow them on social media, comment on stories. And then finally, this part, may seem really minimal, you might not realize it, but it's important. Don't hesitate to contact me. And Ben is offering them an avenue for them to share their feedback and engage with them even further.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to note. I mean, even the personalized signature at the bottom makes it seem like it's really written by a real person, and he's giving them his private email and, or his work email, and encouraging that two-way conversation. And that goes a long way. And he gets a lot of people who email him with questions. And based on the commitment and that dedication that I talked about, he answers all those emails. So again, this is a relationship that we're building, and it's a relationship that we're managing. So when we offer people the opportunity to communicate with us and correspond with us, we also need to make sure that we're answering those emails.
All right, so here's one out of New Jersey from NJ Spotlight. They're a state house news organization. So we have the picture, and this is outlining some member benefits. And for some of you who don't have membership programs or benefits yet, you can still use this as a template and inspiration and tailor it to some things that you do offer, whether it's exclusive content from your editor-in-chief, that's only given to people who've donated before. And also, if you did an event, you can talk about some of the past events that you do to demonstrate things that you have, things that you've done in the past to create value for people who do give. So again, we have a picture establishing who the person is, asking, telling people who join, how many people have joined who come forward, you want to join the bandwagon, join them. And then outlining all of the different member benefits. And again, it's subtle, but it shows a little teaser of something that you'll get if you support them.
These get to know you emails slowly start to ramp up with a more overt ask towards the bottom. So you'll see there is actually, yes, I will support the work you're doing. So it's a subtle escalation of the ask and the pitch. And, you know, by the end of this series, if you send out one a month, you know, and you end in October, you'll be ready to like kick off the NewsMatch with a big full tilt appeal. Another one of the things that I wanted to mention, if you don't have a formal membership program, we are really encouraging everybody, and we'll kind of hold your hand through this process between now and November, December. We would encourage you to think ahead and try to at least plan one event that can take place during NewsMatch. And so if, let's say this is the third email you send, it could promote that event that's happening. So you may want to start thinking now about what can we do in November or December to have some kind of community event, whether it's a coffee or a happy hour. On September 20th, we're hosting a webinar sharing best practices for how to plan those kind of events. But it is a really good idea for you to start thinking about it now, and then we can have more detailed conversations about effective ways to host those kind of events. But it's good that it's on your radar now, because as we all know, events take time to plan. So we're going to give you all some homework, and we want you to create and send at least 2 of these emails before you start the NewsMatch campaign, but I would really encourage you to send 1 per month between now and November. They can be simple. They should be from the heart. We're going to link to a resource document that has some templates that can serve as an inspiration to you. If you already have existing donors, you may want to create 2 versions of these get to know you emails. The current donor emails can start with a thank you for their past support, and then begin to reiterate why their support is so important. And again, you know, based on our experience, we assume our readers and even our donors know so much more about us than they really do. So this may feel redundant, but I assure you that reestablishing that relationship and laying that foundation and better explaining your business model and your aspirations and your mission is really time well spent. So if you have existing donors, maybe just craft a version for them that does acknowledge that past relationship, and then do another version for everyone else in your database who we call your potential members, and they get the more basic version of that get to know you series. But one thing I really want to say, if you don't have the capacity to slice and dice your email list and separate out your donors from your subscribers, just send the same email to everyone and make them a little bit more generic. What's important is starting the conversation. We don't want you to get hung up on database issues at this point. We are going to have some sessions about how to clean up your database and how to better ensure that the right people are getting the right message. But we know, again, that people can get paralyzed by trying to do too much with their database. And the important thing right now to focus on is really starting to build that relationship with your readers. So if this all seems too overwhelming, this idea of separating out different versions, don't let that stop you. Just go basic. If you do want to take it one step further, you can set up automation in an email marketing program like MailChimp.
So most of you are using MailChimp, and they have a great automation feature. So basically, when somebody signs up to join your email list, you can send them a series of pre-written emails based on a series of triggers, and triggers can be anything. So you can set it to go out when somebody joins your email list, 1 week after they join your email list, or a birthday message if you're tracking fields like that. And setting up automation afterwards ensures that new people who sign up for your email list will always get this welcome series. So, after NewsMatch, if you choose to adopt this strategy, set up automation so when somebody joins in March or April of next year, they're still going to get the exact same message, and you're going to start building the foundation for a sustainable pipeline of donors. So, we encourage you, if you want to take up automation and try it. Some of you might find it really intuitive in MailChimp. We encourage you to set up the first one by our next session, on August 2nd. Tristan Loper, our Chief Technology Officer, will be talking about growing your email list. So you want to have something ready when you get that influx of new subscribers. So I'm just going to quickly share the screen so you can see what it looks like when you go into MailChimp. So you log into your dashboard, and up here at the top, you'll see, your campaigns. This should look really familiar. You click on automation, and they create a bunch of different campaigns that you can use. So just click add automation. And here you can type in something like welcome. So MailChimp has a lot of great guides that we'll link to. But like I said, some of you might find this intuitive. They have a welcome message, so it's straightforward. Set up something to greet new subscribers or create a welcome series. So you can do that and, name your automation, and it will have all of these templates created for you step by step. Should we stop and answer a couple questions? Okay, so let's see. Eligibility if you're signed up for NewsMatch too. INN is going to be posting an FAQ page on their website that talks all about the logistics and eligibility requirements for NewsMatch. I think right now it's if you are an INN member in good standing that's actively producing content, but they're going to have more specific language up there as well.
And Fran might be able to comment on when that'll be up. I think they're still working on.
We're still working on it. We're waiting for the direction from Democracy and Knight, because that baseline INN membership is obviously a requirement, but I believe the funders are going to add some additional dimensions that they are going to want to see in the applicants. But at this point, we do not know the details. We will share as soon as we do.
So getting copies of these examples, yes, you're going to get links to these copies. We're also going to create a resource guide for you that has templates that you can just plug and play, put in your mission, your organization, your Facebook link, and you'll create your own pitch that you can serve as an example for you to customize. We're also going to be sharing another version, which is an audience survey. So if you want to add one more layer to your welcome series and get to know your audience, we'll have that option as well. And we can make sure these slides are available. And I think, as Mara mentioned, everything is going to be recorded. So you can watch this again and go at your own pace.
Yeah, just to weigh in quickly about the audience survey, and I know that Leslie David is on here, and we did one for her for Benita Link. It's really important to have that conversation with your audience, because you're going to find so many interesting things out from doing this audience survey. We've crafted it intentionally so that you are really measuring their connection to you. It's their emotional connection to you. Some of the questions include, if Voice of San Diego ceased to exist tomorrow, would you feel you'd lost a source of news that you can't find anywhere else? What's one word to describe your organization or what it means to you? We do it in SurveyMonkey. We can provide you a link, and you can just simply email it out or post it on your site or put it on social media. But I think the insight that you would glean from that would be very, very helpful. So the resource guide that we're linking to has the survey in it, but if you need a little bit more help putting it together, let us know. Any other important questions before we move on?
What about an online event? So this is a really good example of an online event that you could do, which is great for people who have a national audience. So, get your reporters and editors up there and invite your members or donors to an exclusive one-on-one virtual chat, a virtual coffee. Maybe they can talk about an investigation that they've done or share what it's like to work in the newsroom every single day. And I can go into some of these details on September 20th about engagement in events around your campaign. Let's see.
So one of the questions from Marcia, it would be helpful to have a suggested timeline. And if we don't launch membership until September 1st, is it fine to start first message right after that? Yeah, I mean, you're welcome to create your own campaign timeline. I think what we're really encouraging is that you start having conversations now rather than waiting. So think of this again as the get to know you stage, and think of your NewsMatch campaign as your full court press fundraising campaign. One of the other things I wanted to say is we're going to be putting out really specific timelines and schedules for you on, the best days to send emails during NewsMatch, how to write subject lines, how to A/B test subject lines. So we'll get into the weeds on putting together the actual NewsMatch campaign strategy as this webinar series evolves. But today is really about just beginning those conversations. And it's really important, I think, to start those now rather than just waiting until NewsMatch to start having those conversations. One of the things I was at a conference and I was presenting the other day about was, at Voice of San Diego, we started out doing the traditional pledge drive style campaigns where we had a spring campaign and we had a year-end campaign. And we saw the traditional pledge drive style results, right? We'd see big peaks in April and big peaks in December, but then we wouldn't see any donations the rest of the year because we simply weren't talking to our audience during those off months. And so as a result, we had to kind of start from scratch in December and then again in April, beginning those conversations all over again. And we had to really rush through a lot of the relationship building and go straight to the ask, which feels jolting. And I think a lot of people are less responsive to that when you're just asking for money all the time rather than really trying to build a relationship. So I know you have a lot of things to juggle right now, but if you do invest the time in starting these conversations, I think it'll really pay off for you in November and December.
Yeah, and our CTO Tristan is also chiming in with some good advice to add on to that. So
you can, hear from him in the chat section.
Yeah.
One other thing that we wanted to really touch on briefly, and it will dovetail nicely into Tristan's webinar next week, is email newsletters. Based on the survey results, almost all of you already have an email product or an email newsletter, and that is really great news. For those of you who don't have one, we really encourage you to help to create one, and if you need help, please reach out to us. Based on our experience, obviously, the best way to build a relationship with your readers, a really intimate relationship, is through email. So having a solid editorial product to subscribe to will be key to your success. So Tristan can talk more about building your email list next week, and he can also talk more about email newsletter best practices during that session. If you have specific questions, start thinking about those now. And again, you can reach out to us in the interim between sessions. And he can also talk more about automating email, setting up those automations that Christina alluded to. If you want to play around in MailChimp between now and the next webinar and ask him some specific questions, I think that would be time well spent. The more you can do to obviously streamline your steps with a small staff and get some of those get to know you emails automated, the better off you'll be. Another thing that we found at Voice of San Diego, learned the hard way, was it's great to have this strategy, but if you're manually executing all of these get to know you emails, they're the first thing that you press pause on when you need to get your editorial content out. So the sooner you can figure out a simple way to automate those to make sure they're going out, the better off you'll be, and you'll know that your subscribers aren't falling through the cracks without learning more about you through those automated emails. Any other questions?
Yeah, so Todd asked, can some of the messaging we're discussing today also work with less engaged social media followers? So as Tristan mentioned, you can rework it to fit social media, whether you put copy in a graphic so it just captures somebody's attention, or just quick posts about who you are. But again, the message is stronger with people who are already engaged by getting your emails. Pretty much everybody on social media follows up in the random hookup section. So you want to start moving them down that pipeline. So as Tristan said, and he's going to talk about this more in depth, how are you going to bridge the gap and get your Facebook and Twitter followers to actually join your email list?
Yeah, and you can think about kind of chopping up your Get to Know You series into quick little bite-sized digestible Twitter posts or Facebook posts. You can say, hey, do you know how, Voice of San Diego is funded? Here's our 4 revenue streams, and just figure out little bite-sized chunks of the bigger email that you can turn into quick little social media hits.
Yeah, like, did you know that Voice in San Diego is a nonprofit news organization? We were started in 2005. Just quick things like that. Okay, and again, we're going to make all of these webinars and resources available. So don't worry, you can review this, share it, watch the video again, and go at your own pace. So this will, everything will be recorded afterwards too, for all the following sessions.
For those who register, so even if you cannot attend one of the webinars, go ahead and register, because that's how you're going to get the link to access the recorded webinars and the show notes, all the materials that these guys are going to offer.
Marcia asked if she was interested to know if you guys should integrate some of these messages into your regular weekly membership emails. Yes, if you already are doing membership emails or member reports or personalized donor messaging, definitely weave this into it and encourage them to, forward it to a friend. I think you should be weaving your marketing messages into as many of your products as possible. If you have a daily or a weekly email, make sure that you're including at the top or the bottom, are you aware that we're a nonprofit news organization that needs your support? Click here to learn more. That's a simple fix that you can do today. You can review all of your regular outgoing newsletter products and insert a quick little "did you know" kind of phrase in there that helps them understand a little bit more about your business model. If you have a page on your website that talks a little bit more, even if it's just your About Us page, having it linked to that so they have a better understanding of the business model is a good idea. And as Tristan said in the chat, if you have draft language that you'd like us to review, shoot it to us. We really, we know that webinars are great, but oftentimes it's a lot more effective to have a one-on-one conversation, and we're happy to do that too. So please reach out, use this as a resource. We just put our email addresses in there for you. So we're here to help, and we're here to learn more from you about what the sector needs. And so, the feedback that you're providing helps us craft solutions for this. So please start thinking about all this stuff now, because before you know it, it's going to be time, and you don't want to be scrambling in November to get all this together. So really start, I hope you will participate in the webinars and invest the time into doing some of the homework and asking us questions along the way.
Curious if you have any experience or guidance with messaging for donors who have a paid subscription program. So NewsMatch is a special opportunity where you can ask your subscribers to go above and beyond. So, if it's not nonprofit messaging, or actually you guys will all be, but you can talk about how your revenue stream is set up. You can insert things about your origin story or what you hope to achieve in the community and focus on that, and say that, it takes support to make this happen. And so if you'd like to go above and beyond in this period of NewsMatch, please consider giving above your subscription. We know we already deliver good content to you all of the time, and we thank you for that, but please think about the future of our organization.
Yeah, I think this really touches on the transparency piece. As we know, a lot of people think that subscription money is enough to keep an organization afloat. So if you're asking for donations above and beyond that, then you need to be transparent about what portion of your budget is covered by subscriptions and what additional funding is needed. And that's how you're really going to build that kind of trust in your readership. Anything else?
Do you think it's a good idea to try to create urgency with using a match like day of caring or limited push period? Say a week or a month, even if the grant is available for gifts that come later?
I definitely think, we've had this discussion about urgency, and even though the match funds will likely be available in October, do you want a long drawn out campaign that lacks urgency? And we In the News Revenue Hub, we recommend starting right after like Black Friday and running through the end of the year. So you have more of like a 5 to 6 week campaign. If there are giving days in your community that are effective that you want to piggyback onto, I think that works. I think it just is a matter of, will your message get lost in that, or will it be buoyed? We've seen both happen. We've seen the campaign get kind of swallowed up in the Give Big days, but we've also seen in some communities them be effective. So I think you just have to have that sort of institutional knowledge of those kind of giving days to see if it's worth doing. And we'd be happy to talk through that with you too.
So will you be addressing Giving Tuesday efforts, and how can that be coordinated into NewsMatch? So it sounds like Giving Tuesday at this point is this global movement, and I know for some local foundations they'll match every gift that you get for participating nonprofit organizations. But in a bigger sense, I think a lot of people, especially on social media, are conditioned to think about Giving Tuesday. You have Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday. So we'll be releasing the timelines and campaigns, but that is a day that we tie into our messaging. A lot of it will take place on social media because that's where Giving Tuesday takes place, but you can always tie it into NewsMatch. It's definitely a day that you don't want to sit out on and not at least bring up to a certain extent.
There will be a national communications firm that's being brought in to create a national campaign for NewsMatch too. So I'm sure we'll be addressing all of the big giving days that take place that we can, take the opportunity to optimize. So there'll be a national campaign that will be promoted on the national stage, and then there'll be a localized campaign with marketing collateral that we'll make available for each of you, so that the messaging is aligned. And ideally, we're going to try to get it on, on the late night talk shows. We want the folks like John Oliver to be talking about this. So we're really trying to create a movement. And I think now that we're all sort of joined forces and we have Democracy Fund and Knight and INN and everybody all working together, I think we're only going to be able to, do so much more than what we did last year. So we're thinking about all the different aspects and elements of this now, and we'll be passing that on to you as that collateral material becomes available.
From Leslie David. We have over 30 nonprofits that have given matches in our community. Most will select November, December. How do you stand out from them or stake a claim earlier somehow?
Well, hopefully this national campaign will give a little more heft to it. I also think just talking about the news and really kind of tying into current affairs and how important journalism is going to be really key to sort of elevating your message and making people take notice of it in the flurry of other year-end campaigns. So I think we'll be thinking about that. The national communications firm will be thinking about the right kind of messaging to make this stand out among the other nonprofits that we're competing with. But I think, yeah, it's First Amendment, it's protecting the truth and quality journalism and all of those key issues that we've been reiterating since the election. So we will do some market research to see what really resonates with people, and that's what the campaign will be built around.
Mary and Christina, I'm going to unmute the audience because there are a few people who are on the phone, and I want to make sure that they can get their questions too. Great. Everyone can go.
So there was I don't know if there's a lot of echoing now.
I'm going to redo that quick, and I'm going to unmute the people who are on their phones just so they have a chance to ask questions. Sorry about that, everyone.
There was
so yeah, if you're on the phone right now and you have a question, feel free to ask for Mary and Christina.
I'm going to keep taking questions from the chat function.
Sounds good.
People.
Sounds great.
One was, do we know yet whether other big orgs like Omidyar or others will join this? So Omidyar is, Pierre Omidyar is the benefactor behind the Democracy Fund, so he has already joined. And I know Knight and the Democracy Fund are actively seeking other national foundations to join the effort. They're also going to be making a concerted effort to reach out to local community foundations to provide support locally. And I know that's an ongoing effort right now. The Facebook Journalism Project is committed to helping. We're in ongoing talks with them about how to use Facebook Instant Articles to help build our lists, what's the best strategies for boosting posts. So we are talking more with Facebook and hope to have some training from them before the end of the year and more on how they can help with this.
Mary, can I just pop in real quick here? INN is going to have a Facebook boot camp in the off weeks. We haven't publicized it yet because we wanted to get NewsMatch going first. But we're going to have a Facebook boot camp that literally will set you up to create your own ad campaigns. We'll also have call-in sessions where, as you're working through things, you can call our social media expert, Toya, who some of you heard on a prior Facebook webinar. Will be conducting those boot camps, and also will be available for you to call in and literally just ask questions of her. So just want you guys to know that's coming up the 16th and the 30th, but we'll send more out on that once we get moving into NewsMatch. I told you there's going to be a whole lot of training going on.
Okay. There was a question about is there a floor on how much gets matched? I do not believe there is a floor. I think what you match or what you raise will be matched. There will be a ceiling. They haven't announced what that is yet. There was another interesting question from somebody who's just getting started. We're still in operation of volunteers. We don't have a huge body of work to boast about yet. What we're trying to sell is our promise and potential and our ability to fill a very yawning gap in news coverage. Is that sufficient for a welcome email? Absolutely. I mean, this is about sharing your vision and your aspirations and engaging people on this journey with you, helping them solve your problem and helping them create a movement that enables you to achieve your mission. So it's ideal right now to start that conversation and bring them in at the ground floor. So yes, starting the conversation now is a really smart way to go about building a strategy.
And you can link back to old content to extend the shelf life of those stories and, keep referring back to it. All right, let's see. Some concern has been raised that we're sending too many emails. Should we still go ahead with the get to know you emails? How often? Once a month? Yep. I think they serve different purposes. If you want to have a successful NewsMatch or any fundraising campaign, think of this as, the first steps to prime somebody before giving. So you can do it once a month, and make sure that they stand out really differently. Make sure that they have something that makes them different from your stories. I think Tristan is asking about the frequency of your emails. So yeah, think about the tone, make them different, make them warm, welcoming, and getting people to think that your work has monetary value.
And I would just push back because, this is a common debate that you're going to have in your newsroom about sending too many emails. And I would just make sure that that debate is backed up by data and not concern, right? Because who's concerned? Is it the readers who are saying you're sending too many emails? So just make sure that you don't let that stop you from having these conversations. And again, yeah, make them interesting. They should be just as interesting as your content. But I think oftentimes we get a little bit too worried about sending too many emails. If you're sending good content that people are interested in, it's not too much.
And also, by working at the news organization, you think about all the emails that you're sending, but just think about your own personal inbox. Every day, some retailer is sending you multiple emails. You're getting all of your newsletters. Like, you're you may think you're sending a lot, but there's a very good chance that you're just sending the right amount.
Yeah. Tristan might want to weigh in on what do you watch for with opt-out rates? You might want to talk about that. And we can get into that a little bit more during his session.
Do we have any questions from folks who are dialing in?
No?
I don't think we do right now. I have a question for you though. So you talked about making sure your email frequency is backed up by data. Would you say that that's part of sending out an audience survey too with your first welcome emails?
I think the audience survey is hugely important and will produce a lot of amazing insight. So I would definitely start by doing that if you can. And then just backed by data is looking at those opt-outs and unsubscribes, and are you seeing a spike in them now that you're starting to do, more promotional email? And we have not seen that be the case across the board with the News Revenue Hub clients. And they went from 0 to 60. They went from, sending really no kind of promotional emails to sending quite a few. What we did see was, an influx in fundraising and membership. But what we didn't see was a huge influx in opt-outs. But always got to look at that, to make sure.
Yeah, and so when you guys start doing your welcome series, just track what your current revenue is right now at this point in time, and then look back a couple months later and see if you're able to see that growth. And if anyone brings up concerns again, show them, hey, these emails work, we're getting a lot of new revenue.
Mm-hmm. So there's, the trajectory that you're looking for too is building your list. That's one of the other most important things that you can be doing between now and November, is making sure you're doing everything possible to capture leads, to get people in the pipeline, to get them to sign up to come to events, anything you can do to gather email addresses. And that's what Tristan's going to be focusing on in next week's webinar.
So here's a question from Lillian. How do you suggest we set goals for numbers of dollars we want to raise and number of donors we want to bring in? So I think you're going to be balancing two things. One, you got to look at your budget and how close you are to your goals. And those are your true numbers of what you really need to raise. But then you also have to think about what is the pattern of giving within your organization. Are you, if you're going to set $100,000 and you've only raised $20,000 in the past, is that realistic? So you have to think about those two things and find a sweet spot. Number of donors. Say you're at 2,500 donors right now. You want to bump it up to 3,000. Is that a realistic amount? So I think you just have to balance that true budgetary delta and optically what is realistic from a marketing perspective.
I do think it's important to have a goal for the year-end campaign. We've seen that be incredibly successful. We do campaign meters on our sites with our clients with the goal, and we work with them to determine what that goal should be. I'm happy to have conversations with each of you if you get to a point where you really want to break that out. Again, it's important to be transparent about we need to raise X by the end of the year in order to meet our budget. If you're so far away from that budget and you don't think that's possible, then you probably don't want to air that. You have to kind of make those decisions based on where you are with your budget and what you think is reasonable, because you want to achieve your goal, but you want to set it high enough where it's a stretch.
And update people during the course of the campaign. We have 5,000 left to go. Can you step up right now? And use those checkpoints to create a sense of urgency.
That's the great thing about NewsMatch. It creates urgency because these matching gifts, these matching funds are available. There's a finite amount of time. It's really built into the strategy to lend urgency to it. I think we just need to maximize all those different opportunities, and having a campaign meter is a great way to do that. Anything else?
If not, we're going to send all of these resources over to Fran and Mara, and they're going to send everything out to you. We'll be sure to include our contact information if you want to follow up with more specific questions. Next week, Tristan Loper is going to be leading a session about growing your email list and going into some of the things that he talked about in the chat section: Facebook instant articles, Twitter cards, Eventbrite as a lead acquisition tool. So stay tuned for that. And that will be again at the same time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, everybody, for taking time to be on the webinar. And as Christina said, as soon as the recording is finished, I know you guys are waiting with bated breath. We will get that out. Mara will take care of that for us. So, and again, if you are registered, you will get all the recordings and all the materials. Please register. Even if you cannot attend, that's the way to get the information. So thank you for that, everyone. Take care.
Yeah, and I'll be sending out the email in the next 24 hours. So just keep on the lookout for that. And like they said, the materials and the video will be there.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.